Hey, welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast. I'm Dianne, your lactation consultant.
And I'm Abby, the Badass Breastfeeder.
And I have the review of the week.
Yay.
Yay. Okay, so this is from Awesome App for First Time Mom. And she says, this podcast is amazing for any new, experienced, or future nursing mama. I'm currently breastfeeding my second and thought I knew everything there is to know about breastfeeding, and I've learned so many new things from this podcast. Wish I would have found it with my first. And I love this because future nursing mamas.
Yes.
For future nursing mamas, yes, yes, yes. I wish a lot we had more, I'm so glad people are finding us during their breastfeeding journey, whether it be they're halfway into it or they're, 2 years into it or they're 3 kids into it or whatever. But
yeah.
I would love to have, pregnant moms realize that this is a great thing to listen to just to get your info.
Yes. I still remember this woman who followed my blog for a long time. And I actually got to meet her at an event in California. And she wrote a review somewhere about the blog, and she was like, she said, reading your blog was made it so that your struggles were not mine.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, oh my God. It's so it's just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like she, her kid's younger. She, and she was like reading along, seeing the things I was going through, and was able to learn and make the decision so that she didn't run into any of that.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, that
so
is
powerful.
just so cool.
Mm-hmm. It is. It really is. And on that note, we're going to talk about the art of hand expression.
And it is an art.
It is. It is an art form, let me tell you.
And we have actually, somebody contacted us, one of you lovely followers, Badass Catherine. You know who you are. She called herself Badass Catherine, which I love. Oh my God,
I love it.
She sent an email along with pictures that we'll put on the website so that you can, click, or you might already be there since you clicked on the episode, but you can see exactly what she's talking about. She says, "Hi, Abby and Dianne. So today was the first time I had to pump, and I was surprised at just how inefficient the pump was. I've been breastfeeding my baby since day one. She's now 7 months, and I avoided the pump whenever possible because I didn't want to deal with it. I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I never had to worry about pumping at work. Today I have a dentist appointment where I will have 2 cavities filled. Since I don't know how long everything will take, and I don't want to leave the sitter stranded for several hours with a hungry baby, I decided to pump. I sat there for 20-plus minutes with my pump running on full speed and suction, and I was only able to produce drops. I was totally surprised because I know I have a full supply, and I thought I'd whip out several ounces in no time. Thankfully, I've heard about hand expression and decided to give it a go. In about 15 minutes, hunched over a bottle, I was able to express 4 ounces of breast milk. It was seriously the hardest I've ever worked in order to produce breast milk. My heart went out to those moms who have to exclusively pump and to the new moms who think they have low supply because the pump is too inefficient to pull out the breast milk that is really there. I'm so thankful for your podcast and the reassurance that I've gotten through it. I could just hear Abby saying pumps aren't nearly as effective as your baby, and it's so true. You can use this email. Oh, she just goes on and tells us we can share the email. But then she has a picture of this giant bottle of milk that she got while she was hand expressing that she couldn't get while she was pumping. And I think there's a lot to talk about here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because as you're reading that, my
I know
brain
my
is
mind is going in a million different ways. I know.
So let's talk first about why hand expression is better than pumping. Because sometimes people will be like, well, why would I do that over pumping when I've got this wonderful machine? And one of the things that makes it better is because you can really manipulate those milk ducts with your hands way better than the pump can. The pump is just a machine. You put it on, you pull it, it pulls. It's sometimes uncomfortable. It's just kind of like this creation. It's, we've said this a million times. We're grateful for pumps. They're there because, if you need to be separated from your baby or whatever, it's a tool. It is a tool, but they're not made equal for every woman because every woman is not made equal. Flanges don't fit right. Pumps aren't comfortable. They don't work as well. They don't take the milk out because it's like a uncomfortable machine that's pulling at your nipple, and you don't relax when you're pumping. So there's a lot of differences that happen there, but hand expression is completely different than that.
Yeah, I mean, pumping is effective for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. I mean, just like hand expression is an art, pumping is an art. Mm-hmm. And some people figure it out, and some people it works really well for some people, and some people will swear. And this is not just Catherine. There are a lot of people that will swear up and down that it just works way better for them,
right? And
that they do it at work. That they do it, for even long periods of time away from their baby, not just, they just feel that it works so much better.
If you can get used to doing hand expression, and it is one of those things where it's like you have to play around with it a little bit. And I think there are a lot of women who are uncomfortable trying to manipulate their breasts in that way. And that's okay. Like, I get that. But it definitely is something that you need to do several times to get used to it and to figure out, okay, what position is just right. And, where can I touch my breast where I get the most response from milk? And once you get the hang of it, it can be very, very effective. And as a matter of fact, I know a lot of women who will pump and then after they're done pumping can still hand express an ounce or two of milk.
Yes.
Just to get more out.
Yep. You can even use hand expression while you're pumping.
Oh, yeah.
And, but I mean, think about, like, I'm thinking about how I could never really do, like, hand expression. Didn't work for me. I mean, I didn't work outside the home, so I didn't have to figure out pumping, and the hand expression, I never, I tried it a couple times and I was like, I don't really get it. But then when I think about all of the times that I thought it was so funny to squirt my babies in the face with breast milk, like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's all you're doing. And I mean, I can think, like, I can put there like 15 streams of milk coming out. I mean, the couple of times that I pumped, there wasn't all that coming out.
Mm-hmm. No, it definitely,
it's very effective.
We used to suggest it when I worked in the hospital, because sometimes in the hospital, they'll encourage you to pump, or maybe like if your baby's separated from you for some reason. And that way, pump to kind of get things going. But colostrum does not pump well. Colostrum is very thick. It does not pump well. So people attach themselves to this pump in the hospital and nothing happens. But if you hand express, you can get the colostrum way easier than you can if you pump. So we would always encourage that over pumping in the hospital, because it's like it's so much more effective to just, get that milk coming out that way. There are very specific ways to do it. Like, you don't just kind of like hold on to the nipple and just squeeze, it's like back towards the breast a little bit more. We encourage more like massaging to kind of get a letdown and get your breast a little bit more relaxed, get it ready to go. You could use a little heat. They say like, a little bit of nipple stimulation, because we know that nipple stimulation increases oxytocin release, which is what helps to let their milk down. So we want that to be happening, because that's what the pump does. The pump pulls the nipple and causes that oxytocin release. So we want to kind of do that same thing to get that milk going. And once you get the hang of it, it's not hard.
No, and I think people, at least for me, I think about how I'd be standing there squirting milk into a bottle for an hour. And it's not that. It doesn't take that long to empty your breast. It's really, it's really not that.
I imagine that this is what people did before we had these sophisticated pumps.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
What else do you do? How else would you get the milk out? And we've probably all done it to some extent. Like, your milk first comes in and you're really full and you just want to get some of that milk out. So you just kind of like massage and you press on the breast a little bit. Like, like that is not that far off from hand expressing.
No, and this is a hard way. A podcast is a hard way to kind of talk about hand expression. So we have a very, very fantastic video for you that is on our website. At badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com. You can just, if you're not already there listening to this, you can just go there and see the video, and you can watch how it happens. And I think seeing it makes it make more sense.
Well, yeah, you could do it right along with the video too.
Right, and then play with, just play with your boob, play with your hand position.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And we used to always say, like once you have your hand at the breast, you kind of like roll your fingers back towards the chest wall and roll them forward. It's almost like there really is kind of like a pattern to it. And then you move your hand around and then move your hand around. So it's really, you can control how hard you want to do it. You can control where you want to. You feel a little bit full back in this, back in the breast over by your armpit. That's where we massage, but like your pump can't do that. Your pump can't manipulate all those milk ducts the way you can when you are moving your hand around and expressing. And like you said, when you are pumping with with a regular pump, or even like when the baby's feeding, a lot of times women will do the breast compressions and, kind of get that milk flowing a little bit more for the baby or for pumping. It's the same thing. It is basically doing the same thing. But for some reason, like we have this mental block about, hand expression, that must be so hard. I don't know if I can do it.
It does seem hard. Mm-hmm. It does seem like it would be really hard. And it's not.
It is
if
not.
Sure. Once you practice it.
One of the great tips I heard about it too is maybe while you're just kind of starting to get the hang of it, hand express on one side while the baby's feeding on the other. Because that way your milk is, letting down anyway, and your body is going to respond way better if your baby's on one side. And that way you're kind of getting the hang of it.
Yes, but it's so true what Catherine was saying about people are just feeling like they have a low milk supply.
Yeah.
Because that crosses every breastfeeder's mind at some point is like, is there enough milk in there for my baby? And there is.
And you get that visual, and one of the things I love about her email was that she said, I knew that I have milk. I know I have milk, and nothing was coming out. And like,
right. Yes. That's awesome because she knew. But a lot of people will just be pumping and there's nothing coming out. And they are saying, they're trying different things and they're trying the different ways to get more milk to come out, and it's not coming out. And they're like, well, there's nothing in there. Except there is. There's not. It's not empty.
No, it's not. It's not empty. That, and I love when women will always say, like, I've had moms, breastfeeding, and they say, well, the baby was fussy, but I could still squeeze some more milk, so I know there's milk in there. Yes, of course there's milk in there. Every mom I've ever seen has squeezed her breast to see if milk comes out. Everybody does it, everybody does it to see if there's milk coming out, to make sure, do I have milk coming out of here? Yes. And all hand expression is just improving on that technique and getting more milk to come out for a purpose of storage, not for just like, let me see if there's anything in here. And it doesn't take as long, like you said, it shouldn't be like you're standing over a bottle for an hour.
Right. Once it starts going out, you're just squeezing it out. Think about somebody milking a cow. It's not like a fun comparison, but it is the same thing. Mm-hmm. You're just squeezing it out. It comes out when you squeeze it a certain way.
Yeah. Yeah. It just there has to be a certain way that your hand has to be manipulating those ducts. That's all.
Right. And you can use this. Like I said, people will use this technique in exchange for all kinds of pumps, even an entire workday.
Oh, yeah.
I've talked to people who will say that they don't even buy a pump. They just do that. That's free.
How amazingly powerful, though. Like, to be able to just, but then not carry your pump around. Like, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Just have some bottles or some storage bags or whatever, and, that's all you're carrying.
That's awesome.
It is. And you can even, the last time I was hand expressing milk, I was trying to make some breast milk jewelry.
Perfect.
I was just squeezing some out into a milk bag and put it in the mail and sent it off to my friend. And, that was it.
It's amazing to be able to just,
and squeezing it out onto cuts and scrapes.
Oh, yeah, into ears and eyes.
Well,
and
yeah,
stuff.
and that's what people, it's like people are like, well, I can't hand express. Except I know, like you said, people have squeezed milk out of their breasts. They've all done it. Mm-hmm. We've all done it. And like maybe you think, well, you can't empty your breast that way, but
you can.
You know, because this is another thing I think where we kind of misunderstand. It's like, well, if we're going to be working or we're going to be storing milk, then we need to have that pump. Except your hands are so much more effective, and it's free. And you know, it's you know, you have the ability to do that, to empty them, to completely empty your breast and store a whole feeding of milk that way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, especially like you were saying, like with a workplace thing, you know, the complaints that I've gotten about pumps with the workplace are things like it's loud and people can hear it. I forgot a part and had to go home, or I forgot a part and had to go buy it, or I forgot a part and couldn't pump. You're carrying it around. People know that's what you're doing. Not that it should matter, but, you know, sometimes people want to be a little bit more discreet about leaving to go pump at work. And if you're not having to worry about taking a pump with you everywhere you go, then it might be, you know, way more freeing.
Yeah, especially if you're just leaving for like a little while. Mm-hmm. You can just bring a bottle, hand express so you don't get engorged, stick it in your purse, and then put it in the freezer when you get home. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But I think that's a really good point, is that like there is some, you know, even if you do pump, even if you know, if it works well for you, you know, there are situations where, you know, you could be stuck. And hand expression is a technique that can really save you if you're in a bind.
Yeah.
Like you forgot a part, or it's not working, or, you know, power outage, or.
Yeah. What if you just want to go to, you know, the baby is with somebody for 8 hours so you can go to a wedding and you don't want to have to stop and go find a place to pump during that time frame? You know, like there's a lot of really great reasons why it would be so helpful to know how to do this.
Yeah, or your baby is brand new and they slept a little longer than usual and you're starting to get engorged and you're kind of like really liking the fact that they're sleeping though. You know, and you know, you could just lay there on the edge of the bed and hand express a little bit just to keep you from getting, you know, some clogged ducts or something.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And to work out some clogged ducts if you do get them.
Yes. Yeah, that works really good for that too.
You know, massaging that and hand expressing that to cut that clog out.
And it's really good to, you know, to be in tune with your body like that. You know, it is weird and uncomfortable if you're not something you're not used to, but it's really important.
Yeah, I do think that that's something that people are like, wait a minute, I'm just going to be sitting here like squeezing my boob like a cow. And, you know, it is uncomfortable to touch yourself like that sometimes for some people.
You know,
but
I hear all the time, and I never know quite what to say when somebody says, you know, oh, I was pumping and I felt like a cow, or I did this and I felt like a cow, or whatever. And it's like, oh, why do we have to feel like that? Like, it's so, why do we have to compare ourselves to livestock? We are like totally, you know, I don't even know. I can't even express why it gets on my nerves, but it just does. I guess I don't want women to compare themselves to a cow.
Yeah,
like you're doing something much more important than that.
Well, I mean, the cow, the cow's milk is for the cow's baby.
Well, you would
so
think,
you know,
right?
it is the same thing. Maybe we just need to respect cows a little more.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But we never like every animal or every mammal, you know, has milk.
I know, but
why do we say cow? Why can't I be compared to like the cute koala bear or the sweet little monkey? Like why?
Because they're not getting pumped.
Oh,
because the cows are in the factories getting their baby milk pumped out, and you know, so that we can drink it. Because drinking human breast milk is gross. No, not to knock the cow milk drinkers. I know you're out there, and that's fine. You all should, you know. I've had it in my life. I don't, you know, whatever. It's fine. Yeah. It's just, you know, it's funny that it's more normal to see a cow being pumped than a human.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I was doing a breastfeeding class last week, and I can't even remember like why it came up, like about the cows and, you know, and pumping and food, you know, breast milk being food, because I was saying how like breast milk is, or breastfeeding is, you know, you should be doing it for the first 6 months, you know, whatever, blah, blah, the guidelines of what is suggested. How long? Because some people ask me all the time, like, how long should a baby breastfeed? What is what they're supposed to do? Mm-hmm. And the answers I get are always so funny, because people are like, oh, you know, till the baby gets teeth, or till they're 6 months, or till this or whatever, you know, but they never expect it to be as long as it is. Never, ever. So somebody asked me, because, you know, it is around the world, the average weaning age is like 5 to 7 around the world. But in the United States, we don't see that as being your typical thing. And somebody asked, you know, well, why is that? And I said, well, because of the sexualization of breastfeeding, you know, or breasts, because of our maternity leave, you know, and somebody said, you know, people don't think of it as food. And I said, you're exactly right. People don't think of it as food, but it's food. In other countries, it's food, you know, and I think I'd said this before on the podcast, that I read a great blog somewhere once where this woman was in, I think it was Malaysia, and she said they had a pitcher of breast milk on the table, and they were like, it's food. What's wrong with you? You know, like it is food. And really, it's true. It's food. Why is it that, you know, you look at animals and we think of them as food, right? Like, well, the meat eaters anyway, which is not me, but, or you, but it's like, nobody goes, oh yeah, you know, like it's food for your baby. So why is that gross? You know, like, I don't know.
Right? No, it's totally
cultural.
You
know, like it really is.
It's totally cultural,
and it's just so not right. You know, like I don't know how to change our societal thoughts on that, because it's
and we've had, you know, these multi-billion-dollar corporations come in and try to change the way we think about, you know, other kinds of feeding and milk, you know, so that, you know, it's just for profit. Mm-hmm. And so now we've, you know, the perspective has shifted that breast milk is, you know, it's a little bit gross.
We don't want you
it's
to think
weird.
that, though. Yeah,
no,
we don't want anybody.
No, don't think that, because, well, it's obviously not true.
Right.
And, you know, hand expressing your milk into a bottle and skipping the pump is a perfectly fine idea, and sometimes works better for a lot of people. So if you are struggling with pumping, if you feel like you just have tried everything, and there are some things that you can, like I said, pumping is an art as well, and there are things that you can do to make pumping more effective for yourself. But if you feel like you've tried all of those things, and, you know, try or even not, because like we were saying, hand expressing is a good thing to know no matter what.
Yeah. Absolutely.
To be able to have that, to be able to empty your breast on your own. I mean, like, what if there's a big power outage? What if there's, you know, what if something happens and you're just there, like you're so amazing, you're able to just feed your baby, standing right there with your body, you don't need anything else. And you also have this skill where you can empty your breast if you need to without any other intervention.
There was, I remember having a client once who was, she was Jewish, and I can't remember what culture of Jewish she was, but where she couldn't use electricity from, I think, Friday at 9 p.m. to like Sunday morning or something. Mm-hmm. So she had asked about, you know, we were talking about hand expression because she couldn't use her pump during that time. So, you know, and it's just like things like that you don't really think about with other cultures of people. And it's, you know, those kinds of things where it's like, okay, this is where hand expression really comes into play for stuff like that. You said power outages, like, Perfect.
Yeah, and some people just find it just flat out more effective.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like Catherine. She filled a whole entire bottle of, with 4 ounces of breast milk.
Catherine's probably out there hand expressing all over the place now. Right. Now she's like, I can go everywhere. I can leave and like go everywhere because now I can get milk, whereas with the pump I couldn't. So
right, and all she needs, and she doesn't need to carry anything. She's just carrying a bottle or two or whatever she stores her milk in.
Yeah, it's fantastic. That's awesome. Thank you, Catherine.
Yes, thank you, Catherine. And thank you, everybody, for listening. And if you have any questions, certainly let us know. And please feel free to share your experience in the review section on iTunes because you could be our review of the week.
Or we could turn you into a podcast like we did with Catherine.
Or we could, tell us what's going on. I mean, share something that we haven't talked about or that you want to know about, and we'll talk about it.
Absolutely.
Also head to badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com because you can find that awesome hand expression link there. And you can find our sponsor links and our promo codes and all of our other resources and our other episodes. And most importantly, you can find how to schedule your online consultation with Dianne.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.